Hello YouTube! If you could spare a few minutes, we'd like to update you on our plans for 2022 and what we're hoping to achieve this year with your help. Now, Lauren and I launched Final Fantasy Union as a YouTube channel over 5 years ago, and we did so with a pretty simple objective: to deliver high quality, authentic content that celebrates the Final Fantasy franchise. Thanks to your support and funding, despite us having no formal training in doing this kind of thing, we have been able to release hundreds of videos in a variety of formats, from nostalgic lists through to extensive character breakdowns, complicated evolutionary tales, and the first 2 parts of our long-form documentary exploring the history of Square. And all this content has been produced in what has become our customary granular style. While doing so, we've also tried to be mindful about making sure the content we produce is inclusive, thought-provoking, and interesting to both long-term fans of the franchise, but also those who are just getting involved. We've also tried our best to be methodical, taking as much time as we can, and often choosing to wait before posting, especially in relation to current affairs as well. We always want to make sure that when we do speak, our content is as informed as it can be. Thanks to all of you, it's enabled Final Fantasy Union to become something much larger than we could have ever envisioned. Even though it's still quite odd for us to think about, we have become a recognisable name within the community and beyond that, and we are proud to have created new ways for people to reminisce about the past while also offering opportunities to learn new things about the games that people love. It goes without saying that it's been an incredible journey for both of us, and over the past 5 years we have learnt a lot, especially about the kinds of content that you like to watch, as well as what we like to create. And over the last year, those 2 elements have led to us doing a lot of reflection about what we want for the future of the channel, as well as the Patreon that helps to fund everything that we do. And today, we'd like to take you through what exactly that means and how things are going to be changing. At its core, Final Fantasy Union will continue to produce stuff that we know you enjoy, so we will continue to release lists, facts videos, and evolutionary studies. And those videos will continue to have a lot of variety by focusing on the biggest games in the franchise, as well as specific niches like the MMOs and mobile games, and lesser known games that were only released in Japan. But we're also going to be mixing things up and changing the frequency around to make sure the content you're craving to see isn't too far away. And that means we're going to commit to producing evolutionary studies on a more regular basis. Ever since we went live with our first evolution style video back in 2018, we have continued to evolve the topics we cover and how we cover them. Instead of just showing visual changes, we wanted our evolutionary videos to break down whatever subject we chose to its core components, allowing everyone to see how those components would either be discarded or reused for later iterations, as the developers look to create something original that would also have a touch of purposeful nostalgia. It's seen us go from focusing on thematic elements such as the Warrior of Light story motif, the 4 Fiends and Gilgamesh, through to jobs, summons, and even specific concepts like super bosses and ultimate weapons. We have also increased the scope in a significant manner, upgrading the videos from their original format, which focused only on offline main numbered entries, through to now covering every single game in chronological order, so that the evolution of whatever subject we're covering is much clearer. Every year, we have managed to produce more evolutions than the previous year, but our back catalogue still only contains videos on 25 topics. This year, for that reason, we are going to commit to producing videos on at least 12 new topics, and the topics we cover are going to now be chosen by our Patreon supporters. As we're always looking to try and push what we do, this year we'll also see the introduction of a new type of evolution. So outside of general themes, jobs, and summons, expect to see videos about monsters arriving throughout 2022. To be blunt, this goal would not be feasible without support on Patreon. We have used the funding we receive to hire Vlad as a video editor who works exclusively on Evolution's videos. This has allowed us to have a consistent style, and we feel the results over the past 6 months speak for themselves. Now, the ability to bring extra people on board to help, like Vlad but also First Outpost, has enabled us to start exploring new formats, and without wanting to sound like a self-help commercial, focus on what brings us joy as creators. And that's a theme we want to continue throughout 2022. 2 of the projects that have benefited from this mantra are The Complete History of Square and The Legacy of the Crystal. Producing the complete history of Square was our big goal this time last year, but at the time it was envisioned as a long-form documentary that would only last around 45 to 50 minutes, and it would cover everything up until the merger with Enix. Now, a year later, we've released the first 2 parts, which have a combined length of 1 hour, 44 minutes and 40 seconds, and we're only up to the release of the original Final Fantasy. As you can imagine, the amount of time required to research and create these videos is pretty crazy. But outside of the time spent by me, thanks to your support on Patreon, we were able to partner with a YouTuber called Crispy Crisps, and this helped to elevate the quality of the videos in a significant fashion. Part 3 should be delivered this quarter, and at the moment, the plan is for Part 3 to cover everything between the release of Final Fantasy up until the release of Final Fantasy IV, but we'll see how that goes. The other benefit of being able to bring additional people on board to help is that it frees up time and creates some mental bandwidth, and that's where the legacy of the Crystal comes in. It's an understatement to say that Lauren and I were blown away by how much support there was for this project, but there were literally hundreds of hours poured into the writing and planning of the book before the campaign even went live. Without being able to move away from other tasks, that would just not have been possible, and it's this kind of initiative that we'd like to continue to surprise you with in the future. Without wanting to sound corny, we're just also so happy that we're able to provide opportunities for people beyond ourselves to come on board and help us create content about Final Fantasy. And throughout this year, if we're able to increase the volume of financial support we receive, we'll be looking to bring on additional people to help create bigger, better, and more frequent content for everyone to enjoy. And that brings us on to an interesting goal for next year, the creation of a new series that will explore the complete history of Ivalice. If we're able to get up to 250 Patreon supporters, we promise to make this video series a reality. Another incentive is that if you support us on Patreon by the end of this month, you'll be able to suggest any video for us to make no matter how much you pledge. The best ideas will then be put forward to a community vote, and we will commit to make the one that receives the most votes. Another area we're looking to improve is our community outreach. As many of you have noticed, despite having numerous social media profiles, a partnered Discord server, and a Twitch channel with over 4,000 followers, our updates and appearances across the various platforms are sporadic at best. Our aim this year is to do much better, providing supplemental content on social media relating to videos that we're producing so that you can gain a better understanding about who we are as creators outside of the videos that we publish. Last year, we tried a few different things, such as a stage event on Discord called Storytime with Daryl, where I talk about some of my crazy stories relating to Final Fantasy and the video games industry. We also hosted our first town hall meeting to talk with the community about what's going on and to gain feedback. We also launched Wark Digest, a free weekly newsletter managed by Chris that now has almost 400 subscribers. And for those who want to contribute to our work, we also have exclusive shows and podcasts that are available today on our Patreon. And that brings us on to our 2022 Patreon refresh. Not only are there now job-based names against the majority of tiers, by supporting us on Patreon, you can get access to our new monthly live stream where we discuss our upcoming schedule, behind-the-scenes content, early access to upcoming videos, an exclusive podcast where I talk about what went into the creation of certain videos, voting rights on upcoming videos, and even the opportunity to challenge our creativity by working with us to create a video based on an idea that you've come up with. Now, we launched our Patreon account 5 years ago, but despite us consistently increasing the quality and quantity of the videos that we produce, and now having almost 250,000 subscribers, the volume of people choosing to support us on Patreon has remained quite low in comparison. It means that we have to make the money we receive stretch quite a lot, and it makes the more fun projects and the prospect of us expanding out into things like Kingdom Hearts much more difficult. It means we have to be quite pragmatic with how we make revenue, and sometimes that means we miss the mark. But hopefully, for the most part, you have come to appreciate the content that we produce and how diligent we are about making sure it's as high quality as it can be. At the end of the day, despite our consistent output, we are few in numbers and run all of these activities alongside juggling full-time work and the raising of our children. And it means that every single pledge on Patreon makes a massive difference to what we can do. So please, if you have the means to do so, head over to patreon.com/ffunion, see what we have to offer, and consider throwing us as much as you're comfortable doing so. Alternatively, if you can't or just don't want to, that's perfectly fine. Support comes in all shapes and sizes, and we will remain eternally grateful to everyone who watches our videos, likes them, and shares them around to all the communities they're part of, as every action helps to get the word out. And as shown by our terrible usage of social media, we'll take all the help we can get. Thank you all so much for your time, and we hope you look forward to everything we have in store for Final Fantasy Union throughout 2022.